Ты 14-34 полк отрабатывал. Значит,
Hello and welcome to One on One. We have filmed this at AirVenture, and we're brought to you by our great sponsors like Flying Eyes. That's the booth that we're at. Go to flyingeyesoptics.com, use our discount code, taking off all caps, one word for 10% off, and also Clemens Insurance. If you need insurance, call Jerry at clemensinsurance.net. More later. Jonathan Smith, we've had you on the show before. You're a drone expert. I guess your specialty is the FPV, the first-person view drone flying. Talk about your background real quick so people know you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I've been into ground robotics starting from a very young age. In 2012, that's kind of when the drones kind of hit the commercial market real big here. I built my first drone there in 2012. Went to school at University of North Texas for mechanical engineering, where I got my bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering. Worked on any drone project that the professors will let me into. And then once I graduated, got my first job, I had, a lot more income to spend on drones. And expanded my fleet, and I've just been doing it ever since.
Okay, well, you have worked with me. We did some stuff with a P-51 Mustang, beautiful footage. And just last night, you shot some really incredible stuff with the drones that are doing the night show at AirVenture.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was able to see where they were set up. I went and talked to the owner. I was like, hey, showed him my drones, gave him a few of my accolades, and he was all for it. So I got to fly my drone within the drone show and get some awesome
with
footage.
the waiver and everything else. That's awesome.
Under their waiver.
All right, so Johnny B. Rockin', make sure you guys check out his channel and his stuff. All right, let's get to, with the war is now two plus years in at Ukraine, and I think one of the biggest surprises to me has been how drones are impacting the modern battlefield.
Yes.
Can you speak to like the 30,000-foot view on kind of what has been happening with this war in Ukraine?
Yeah, so right now what we're seeing in the Ukraine-Russian conflict is we are in war of drone and electronic warfare right now. This is the first time that FPV drones and commercial-style drones, to my knowledge, have been implemented in the battlefield. So before, you would go through all the research and development avenues through the military, but now they're just using off-the-shelf commercial drones that anybody can buy.
Like the DJI Mavic.
The DJI, yep. That was kind of the first iteration of the drone warfare, was using that for reconnaissance. DJI also has what's called the servo upgrade, where you can buy a $200 servo that straps underneath. It plugs right in. You can map one of the switches on the stock controller for the DJI, and now you can drop grenades, bombs, whatever you want. Whatever can fit under the drone and it can fly, you can drop it.
Wow.
And that was, made for people in the hobby space to experiment with, dropping little parachute guys or things that weren't made to kill people or to harm people. And now you see, out of necessity, the Ukrainians have had to use that in order to stop the invasion of the Russians.
Are governments clamping down on the capabilities of these commercial drones, and if so, in what way?
Not necessarily on the capabilities.
Can we get this servo today here in the United States?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and as of now, you can still buy all of the DJI drones that are being used. Right now, there is legislation that's trying to be passed to limit that here in the States. DJI and Autel are directly under the microscope right now, especially for FCC licensing. So they're trying to restrict their abilities to gain FCC licensing here in the States. So here in probably the next several months, if the decision is made, we won't be able to get DJI or Autel drones here in the States anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a 5-year plan that's been proposed. The first year will be a tariff of, I believe, 20%. All the way up into, I believe it's 100% tariff, so we'll be paying twice as much at the 5th year, and then after the 5th year, it'll be completely banned.
So we'll still have DJI drones, we'll just be paying a lot more money for them.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so we better buy our DJI drones right away.
Yeah, better stock up now. I've already stocked up on a lot of my components for my FPV drones that I know I'll need that, constantly break or get damaged. But
wow, didn't know that. Okay, so they're putting grenades and small things, and the Mavic, the small DJI off the shelf, can carry that kind of payload?
Yeah. I mean, it can carry, not well, and it can't go very far, but they've transitioned into using just the FPV drones to carry a large
so that's
port
with
of their
the goggles.
munitions. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
how do they do that, and is it very accurate?
It's extremely accurate, and it is kind of an acquired taste. You have to practice. So the live view that you see in the goggles is not what you see on Instagram or YouTube. It's not that high quality, high definition video. They're using analog systems, which are very prone to interference. But the benefits of analog is if the picture isn't crystal clear, you can piece together pixels on the screen, and you can say, oh, these 2 pixels up top, those are blue, so I know that's the sky. These 2 pixels down here are the ground. So I know somewhere halfway in between there is the horizon, and you can kind of get a rough bearing there. And when the video comes back into play, you can see, if you're hunting down a tank, and it, the image gives you that split second, reference point. You can fly right to that reference point, and then it's lights out.
Do you think the Russians have been surprised, or in the Ukraine soldiers been surprised by the use of drones?
Absolutely.
Has the world been surprised?
I think, that's what I was going to say. Is I think everyone has been surprised at the effectiveness that these little hobby drones have been able to cause havoc on the battlefield. These drones aren't expensive. You can buy a cheap FPV drone for $400, bind and fly, ready to go. As long as you have your goggles and your controller, bind it up, and you're ready to get in the air. It's the huge benefit of the commercial market is driving the price down. But now we see that the prices have been driven up because all of the stock has been bought out by these warfare players. So we can't even get a lot of the parts that we used to be able to for very cheap.
How does it work inside of an army? Does just one person who grew up with the PlayStation or whatever become like the de facto drone person, or do they have units? Walk me through what's happening as far as drones and units.
Yeah, so I can speak from experience on that. Being of the younger generation, granted, I'm getting older now, so my reflexes are starting to slow down. And seeing these young kids, they just pick up the controller and they can go. Like, no training, no sim time, no nothing. You pick up the controller, tell them what it does, and they're off to the skies. So a lot of what I've seen, the videos being posted out in the interviews, is a lot of the Ukrainian stuff are my age and much younger, 5-10 years younger than I am.
Are they creating drone units?
Yes, they are. And the interesting part about that is an article that I read said that the Drone Special Forces unit for Ukraine is not under the chain of command of the rest of the military.
Oh, wow.
They are left to their own devices to go do, what they see fit to protect their land. And it was done that way. Not to invoke the chaos of the bureaucracy that you have to go through on a normal chain of command in the military.
Talk about how they're being used in close combat.
Yes, so they're digging trenches pretty much right along the roads of where they are using. So I'll back up a little bit. They're using the Mavics to kind of scope out the land on a reconnaissance type.
Okay.
So they're seeing where Russians are staged and where they're planning on going based on the roads. They're then sending these FPV guys to dig trenches where they have grenades, hand grenades, rocket-propelled grenades, and other mortar rounds that they're strapping under the FPV drones. For the hand grenades, they're pulling the pin and they're full send. And these drones will go about 100 miles an hour, even with the grenade.
So wait a
under
minute.
there.
They pull the pin. They've got, 5 seconds?
Yep. There's a guy.
So they got to be really close to their target to be able to pull this off.
Yes, and they are. They're within a football field of what they're targeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they able to just fly through hatches and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my sayings for client work is, if the drone fits, I can fly it. And that's absolutely true. These hatches that can fit a person can definitely fit a smaller drone, the types of drones that I'm flying for media.
Wow. What about naval warfare? How are drones being used over there for naval warfare?
Yeah, again, another article that I saw is the Ukrainian conflict is the first time that maritime drones have been used in a warfare. They have a range of about 800 kilometers, and they can be completely autonomous for about 60 hours. And they're using AI in both the maritime and the aerial drones to be able to recognize targets. So they've fed this AI tens of thousands of pictures of missile sites, of armament, rearmament sites. And so the AI can actually recognize those sites and cross-reference it to video that they've taken with the Mavics. And so these drones can just you push the go button and they're gone. It doesn't matter if it's GPS denied, doesn't matter if there's RF jamming systems. It knows based off of visual reference where it needs to go, and it's going to hit it.
Wow. Okay, which then brings up what kind of countermeasures are being developed by the armies.
Yeah, from my understanding, both the Ukraine and the Russians do have RF jamming that they'll put on their vehicles. That way they have a mobile kind of protection bubble. Again, with the FPV, if you have your bearing in sight before the jamming, you let go of the sticks and it's going to continue that trajectory. So a lot like throwing a football, to an open wide receiver on the football field. If you know roughly how that tank is going to be going, you can intercept him, and doesn't matter if your video gets cut out or your telemetry, as long as it continues that momentum, it's going to hit.
So what can they do to if you're on the defense, what can you do to stop the drone attacks?
I mean, that's the big question, Rao, isn't it? I don't have a clue, honestly. With the technology that's been developing at such a fast rate, anything that I would be able to do, I feel like would be outpaced by the other side in the innovation space.
Wow. That's pretty scary stuff. How effective has it been? You got numbers?
Yes. So one of the estimates from the Ukraine side, they've estimated 100 Russian soldiers die every hour that they have their FPV drone cruise or
on missions.
Yes, yeah. Anytime the FPV guys are on the mission, 100 soldiers are dying every hour.
Every hour. Wow.
Every hour. Yep.
Wow.
And that's across all the front lines.
Now, of course, that's from the Ukraine reporting, so we don't.
Correct.
It's not verified.
Yeah,
but
yeah, not verified. Yeah.
So, are the Russians using drones as well, or is it mainly the Ukraine?
It's mainly the Ukraine. The Russians have developed what's called the glide bomb. So it's similar to
a cruise
guided
missile. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So it drops from the plane, extends its fins out, and then it goes. And again, it's using a GNSS, inertial, and also visual. So again, if GPS is denied, no joy. If RF signals are denied, no joy. Now its backup is the visual, so it can detect where it needs to go based off of visual and comparing picture layouts and stuff like that.
Where are they getting all the drones from?
So a lot of the drones are coming from China, at least on the FPV drones.
Although China technically is neutral, they've been feeding Russia a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And, in warfare, there's always workarounds.
And North Korea is sending a lot to Russia as well.
Yep, exactly, yeah. And in warfare, there's always workarounds. Take, for example, the Iranians, where they developed the kamikaze drone.
Right.
The chip that they were using for the flight controller, the STM32 chip, is actually a Texas Instruments chip that comes here from the United States. We are not allies with them, so how did they get it? Nobody really knows. It's seizing shipments. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. If you know where something is going, you can intercept it, and now it's yours.
It's a crazy time out there. Well, Jonathan, thanks for coming on and
sharing
thanks
for having me.
That. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget our sponsors. Mentioned a couple at the beginning. We also have 67 Design, 67D.com, Z-Vision, the brightest landing taxi lights that are out there. We've also got Colton Mortgage, Colton Taking Off, and Marshall Protective Services, MPSProtects.com. Thank you guys. Don't forget to share, subscribe, like. We'll see you next time, one-on-one.
We are the ones that can provide the solution to the problem.
I'm having a blast.